James Corbett here, CorbettReport.com, and once again I just wanted to take a moment before today's eye-opener to update you as to the status of the second quarter fundraiser for BoilingFrogsPost.com, which of course is the website that brings you the eye-opener every week. And unfortunately I have to announce that we are at the end of the fundraising, the second quarter fundraising drive, and we're just over halfway to the goal, $6,500 raised out of $12,000. So again, I don't know what this means for the future of the website and the content that it will be able to deliver, but we will wait for Sibel to make an announcement on that and to see how this will affect the future of the website. But I do want to take a moment to thank all of the people who did contribute to this fundraising drive and remind you that there is still a day or two left on this fundraising drive for those who do wish to continue to contribute. And once again, this is alternative media. It is not brought to you by the foundations or the Rockefellers or the Carnegies or whoever else. It's brought to you by you. So I do truly appreciate all the people who took time out of their day and money out of their savings to contribute to this fundraising drive and to help keep this alternative voice coming to you. And on that note, let's get straight into today's Eye-Opener report. One does not have to scratch the surface of pop culture very deeply to see that schools are nearly universally portrayed in our society as boring, stultifying, prison-like environments where students have to struggle to maintain consciousness.
Says that at this point on the revenue curve, you will get exactly the same amount of revenue.
And remember, a child worries constantly about his educational future.
As we examined last week, this state of affairs is not the result of random happenstance or a failure of the government to throw enough money at the problem, but a structural feature of the modern education system that was consciously constructed by the industrial robber barons and financial giants of the early 20th century, including the Carnegies and the Rockefellers, and promoted by the politicians under their influence, including Woodrow Wilson, who, years before coming into office as President of the United States, delivered a lecture on the meaning of a liberal education, where he stated, "We want one class of persons to have a liberal education, and we want another class of persons, a very much larger class, of necessity, in every society, to forego the privileges of a liberal education and fit themselves to perform specific, difficult manual tasks." Sadly, this agenda, to the extent that it had not already been enacted at the time of Wilson's speech, has been fully realized today.
You give your kid away at his most, or his or her most plastic years, to a group of strangers. You accept a promise, sometimes stated and more often implied, that the state, to its agents, knows better how to raise your children and educate them than you, your neighbors, your grandparents, your local traditions do. And that your kid will be better off so adopted. By the time the child returns to the family or has the option of doing that, very few want to. Their parents are some form of friendly stranger too, and why not? In the key hours of growing up, strangers have reared the kid. Now let's look at the strangers, of which you were one and I was one. Regardless of our good feeling toward children, regardless of our individual talents or intelligence, we have so little time each day with each of these kids, we can't possibly know enough vital information about that particular kid to tailor a set of exercises to that kid. Oh, some of us, will try more than others, but there simply isn't any time to do it to a significant degree. So what we do is accept, and of course if we don't accept this, we're fired or harassed. We accept a state's prescription that's written in manuals. You do this first, and this second, and this third, and here you have a little latitude to talk to the kids. And the way the state checks on whether you've followed that diet is there's standardized tests given at intervals. If your kids do badly, it does not mean that they're bad readers or anything else. It means that they haven't been obedient to the drills the state set down, and they're marked for further treatment later on, or they're marked to be excluded from responsible jobs.
The next logical step in this agenda is the implementation of Common Core, a set of educational standards so poor that those tasked with validating those standards refuse to do so.
So my conclusion is that states need to reconsider their decisions for more than substantive reasons. There has been no validation of Common Core standards by a public process.
In the national policy, this is right from this document, in national policy there is increasing attention on 21st century competencies, which encompass a range of non-cognitive factors, including grit, and persistence is now a part of Common Core state standards for mathematics. One of the measurements mentioned is behavioral task performance, digital measurements, MRI, facial expression cameras, posture analysis seats, pressure mouse, wireless skin conductance sensors, which are lie detectors. And if you think I'm kidding, right here in this document, there are the pictures and all the verbiage around facial expression cameras, posture analysis seats, pressure mouse, wireless skin conductance sensors. And they also talk about a thing called fMRI, where they actually image a child's brain function as the brain is functioning while it's reading or learning or under stress. That's in here too.
They want to do this to every child?
Mm-hmm. Every child will be monitored in every way conceivable.
I always like to end with good news. This is my granddaughter. And why am I? She's a year old. She stole the brownie from Daddy and is running away. That's Daddy behind her. Why am I showing you her? Well, she's adorable, of course. But also because every one of you has a face that looks just like that in your life. Every one of you. That's just the delight of your heart. What does the government call that face? A widget. In August of last year, the Pennsylvania Department of Education testified in front of the House Education Committee and said that the outcomes of education, like widgets, need to be the same. And they used the word widget. They said that if you buy a hamburger in a McDonald's in Erie and then you go to Philadelphia and buy a hamburger in the McDonald's, it's the same hamburger. So why can't the children be the same?
But for those who are opposed to this conception of schooling, the rote memorization and endless standardized testing, the introduction of biosensors and other devices into the classroom to monitor students' behavior, the prolongation of childhood and arbitrary grouping of individuals by age, the unquestioning obedience to authority that is inherent in the classroom dynamic, the training for the workforce implicit in the segregation of tasks into arbitrary work periods, the Pavlovian conditioning of the bell. What is the alternative? What can be positively proposed as a counterbalance to this palpably destructive form of modern-day schooling? This is not a rhetorical question. It is a very real question that has real answers in the real world. One clue as to an alternative system can be found in the Netherlands, where the prestigious University of Groningen, celebrating its 400th anniversary this year, is establishing a new University College Groningen that promises to challenge preconceptions about schooling, education, and the learning environment. One of the professors helping to establish the UCG curriculum is Tjeerd Andringa, an associate professor in sensory cognition who will be leading a course on the intersection of geopolitics and cognition that will push the boundaries of content and form of education.
Some time ago I wrote a piece about Woodrow Wilson's famous quote about we want two classes of people, one with a liberal education and one without a liberal education. So I started to research what actually was the difference between a liberal education and a normal education. And at a certain moment I sent that to a civil servant of our university. And that civil servant read the paper, we discussed it, and he decided that I should be a good member of the liberal arts education that we were just starting at the University of Groningen. So a week later I had a job there.
So tell us about the curriculum you're developing. What kind of bachelor's degree is this going to be?
It's a liberal arts and sciences bachelor's degree. It is international. It's basically for all types of students who are pretty good in mathematics and are 7 out of 10 or better, and have a very broad interest. So that is the important thing. And what we are going to do with the students is basically the first year we're going to make them very broad so that they know all kinds of different types of knowledges from different perspectives, and that they know where all types of information are actually. Maybe they don't understand everything, but at least they know where it is, that it's valuable in certain situations, and that they appreciate information really well. That is the grammar phase, the structure of knowledge. In the second year, we are going to the logic phase, which is about solutions, which is about how all types of knowledge can be used for a particular solution. And then you're working on the consistency of information. So how can you build a very consistent view on a particular part of the world, a scientific problem, something with a societal impact. And that will be the second year, so solutions. And the third year is actually solving that problem and selling that problem to the rest of the world and becoming a leader or an example. And so we do, say, 3 things. We open your horizon, we make you a little bit into a scholar, and then we help you to become a leader.
Another professor who attempted to provide a challenging, radical, anti-establishment learning environment of self-directed education was Denis Rancourt, who, in his tenured position at the University of Ottawa, experimented with a course on activism in society until railroaded out of the university by threatened bureaucrats and administrators. In 2011, he appeared on the Corbett Report to discuss his experience.
So one venue was a course that I developed, which was called Physics and the Environment. And I was given a free hand in that course. It was in a new environmental studies program. And so I decided to bring in politicians, activists, all kinds of societal players that would motivate the learning of the physics and the environmental science. And it just grew from there. And it allowed me to expand and experiment with pushing the limits in a way. And it eventually led to, in 2005, what I called academic squatting, which was to take over this course completely and allow the students and the professor, myself, together to define what it was going to be and how it was going to satisfy our needs and exactly how we wanted to use it in our education. And the administration flipped out when they saw that I was doing this, that I'd opened the class to the community, that I allowed everyone to come into the classroom who wanted to. So there was all kinds from the community. We filled a large auditorium, and we applied a very novel pedagogical methods, parallel work groups. The students were deciding the curriculum as they went. There was a lot of vibrant discussion. It was a real life-changing experience for many students, and it generated so much enthusiasm that the students wanted to have their own officially recognized activism course in the university curriculum. So they fought to create an activism course, and the reason they felt they needed to do that was that this academically squatted course was resisted quite strongly by the administration. I mean, the dean of the Faculty of Science barged into the second class of that course, and announced that it was over, that if they had to, they would replace me, and so on. And the students said, "We don't think so." And you have to realize that, the great majority of activists on campus and in the community were in that room when the dean tried to intervene like that and shut it down. So there was a battle, and the students won, and the course was given as we had intended.
There is no one set method for education. Every child is different. Each will learn in their own way, respond to challenges and tasks in different manners, benefit from different approaches and different levels of outside input and self-direction. But that is the real task of education. Not teaching children to memorize names, dates, and figures out of a textbook and regurgitate them on the test paper, but to help them understand who they are as individuals, what they can contribute to the world, and how they can connect with those around them. There are classrooms around the world where these experiences are a core part of the education environment as well, and in very rare instances, as in the case of Toshiro Kanamori's 4th grade class in Kanazawa, Japan, followed throughout the year by NHK's cameras in 2003 for a remarkable documentary, the results are as powerful as they are undeniable.
Mr. Kanamori's class has a tradition. Every day in homeroom, 3 students read aloud letters they've written. They're called notebook letters. They're written to the other students, and they're a true, surprising record of what these 10-year-olds really think. Happiness, irritation, determination, gratitude, whatever's real, because the other children will pick up whatever isn't. Late April, Ren Sueda comes to class for the first time in 4 days. His grandmother died. In his notebook, Ren writes about the death, the funeral, his loss.
21日の日曜日、呼ばれて2階に行ったらおばあちゃんは亡くなっていた。おばあちゃんは眠るように亡くなっていた。おばあちゃん
They were worried. They didn't know why Ren was away. Now they're moved at his pain and saddened by his loss.
告別式だった。最後のお別れに花をいっぱい入れてあげた。僕は涙がボロボロと出た。みんなも泣いていた。バスで火葬場へ行った。1時間ぐらいでおばあちゃんは骨になっていた。おばあちゃんがいなくなって寂しいです。はい。
手挙げてる人全員立ちなさい。
The letter unlocks some brutal and long-hidden memories.
僕もおばあちゃんがなんか亡くなっ全がんでなんか全体ががんになるので死んでその時に僕はもう
And before long, the notebook has other memories rising to the surface.
どう言ったのとか聞いていてその時のことを思い出したので末田さんの気持ちはよくわかりました。
私の誕生日の日の前の夜におじいちゃんが寝ながら亡くなってしまって私はおじいちゃんの顔を見れずに
Mifuyu has been holding down her memories for more than half her life.
私は3歳の時にお父さんが亡くなって命の危機の時も書きたかったんだけど書こうと思ったんだけど書けないくらい悲しくてそれで私はお父さんが亡くなった時には3歳だったんだけどそういうことが分かっててそれで
She'd been afraid to talk about her father. She didn't want to seem different. She paid a price.
育ってたんだけどでも涙が止まらなくて電話ができないくらいだったのでその話を聞いて私はすごく楽しかったです。
Now, at last, she feels safe enough to talk about her missing parent.
この学級で一番僕は辛い経験を持っているのは美冬だと思う。で、今日は僕は美冬がそのことを、いつも心にしまっておくと辛い。ね、な美冬。だから一度は美冬が お父さんのことをみんなの前で言った方が気が楽になるだろうなと思ってたけども、その心をね、レンちゃんの頼りも開いてくれたわけだ、手紙のことな。これ調べて分かったことを書いていきな。
They're trying to understand. They all find it painful. Some find it unbearable. Yo Enomoto is the class spark plug, high energy, charming. Now he's remembering the death of his grandmother.
そう思い出した。あ？それはいいこと、素敵なこと。はい。でも、はい、元気よくだ。はい、食べよう。はい。一番はやっぱり共感だろうと思うね。まあ、僕なんか大好きな言葉に、心に人を住まわせる。心に定員はないから、そうやってみんなに語ってみんなに共感してもらって本当にこう聞く相手がいると、そうやって自分の心の中に人が住み着く、それが手紙ノートのものすごい大きな意味かなと思って。
Now, Mifuyu's gotten up the nerve to bring a picture to class, her most precious picture. Her father was a designer. This was his last work, a model for a parade exhibit. He died before it was built.
これのを使ったパレードがあった時にはお父さんはもう亡くなっていたんですが、お母さんは見ようと思ったけど怖くて見れなかったって言ってました。はい、
ありがとう。引っ張らないように見てくださいね。
She didn't want to seem different. Now she's more a part of the class than ever. And now she can talk about her father and smile.
For parents, teachers, school administrators, and others who have a genuine concern about the Common Core approach to education, it is important to note that there are educational alternatives out there. Alternatives that have nothing to do with larger school budgets, rewritten textbooks, or biometric scanners in the classroom. Alternatives that are not funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation or evaluated on a standardized testing regime that rewards rote memorization. Alternatives that encourage children to become an active part of their own education and shape their own course toward adulthood. But do the American public, or indeed the public of the world, have the courage to explore these alternatives? Or will they lay down yet again and give in to the institutional inertia of the status quo? This video is brought to you by the subscribers of BoilingFrogsPost.com. For more information on this and other topics, please go to BoilingFrogsPost.com. For more information and commentary from James Corbett, please go to CorbettReport.com.